When it comes to love and marriage, trust is the glue that holds everything together. Without it, even the strongest attraction or deepest connection can start to feel shaky. Trust isn't just about being faithful. It's about honesty, respect, and feeling safe with each other, both emotionally and physically. Many people think trust is something you either have or you don't, but in reality, it's something you actively build, strengthen, and sometimes even rebuild when it's been broken. Communicating openly and honestly is the cornerstone of building trust in any relationship, especially in love and marriage. At its core, communication is not just about exchanging words, but about truly expressing yourself while also creating a safe space for your partner to do the same. When couples fail to communicate clearly, misunderstandings build up, assumptions replace facts, and resentment can quietly grow. On the other hand, when partners make the effort to share their thoughts, feelings, and concerns honestly, they create a foundation of security and connection that makes trust possible. One of the most important aspects of open communication is vulnerability. Many people struggle with being fully honest because they fear judgment, rejection, or conflict. They might withhold how they really feel or avoid difficult conversations just to keep the peace. While this may feel easier in the short term, over time it erodes trust because your partner cannot fully understand you if you are hiding parts of yourself. Vulnerability is about saying, "This is what I'm really feeling," even if it's uncomfortable. It means admitting when you're hurt, when you're afraid, or even when you're uncertain. For example, telling your partner, "I felt insecure when you didn't call me back," is much more honest and constructive than shutting down or pretending everything is fine. Honesty in communication also includes being transparent about your intentions, needs, and expectations. Many couples run into trouble because one person assumes the other should just know how they feel or what they want. But mind reading isn't possible, and expecting it only leads to frustration. If you need more quality time, say it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, speak up. If something bothers you, bring it to the surface respectfully instead of letting it fester. This type of clarity removes guesswork from the relationship and reassures your partner that they can rely on you to express yourself truthfully. Equally important is the way honesty is delivered. Speaking your truth doesn't mean being harsh or careless with your words. The goal is not to win arguments or prove who's right, but to strengthen the bond between you. A key skill here is practicing empathy and choosing words that reflect your care for the relationship. Saying, "You never listen to me," might put your partner on the defensive, but framing it as, "I feel unheard when I share something and you're distracted," communicates the same message with less blame. Tone, timing, and body language also matter. An honest conversation said in anger or sarcasm can do more harm than good. Listening is another critical part of open communication. Trust grows when both partners feel heard and understood. It's not enough to simply wait for your turn to speak. Active listening requires attention, patience, and an effort to truly understand the other person's perspective. This means putting down distractions, making eye contact, and resisting the urge to interrupt. Sometimes your partner doesn't need you to fix the problem, they just need you to hear them out and validate their feelings. Phrases like, "I hear what you're saying," or "that must have been really hard for you," show that you value their voice, which in turn deepens trust. Another layer of honest communication is consistency. If you say one thing but act in a way that contradicts it, your partner will quickly begin to doubt your words. Being consistent in what you communicate and how you follow through with your actions demonstrates reliability. For example, if you tell your spouse you'll be home by a certain time, do your best to honor that. If you can't, let them know instead of keeping them guessing. Small acts of consistency build a pattern of dependability, and over time, this becomes a powerful builder of trust. Honest communication also involves discussing difficult or sensitive topics that might otherwise feel uncomfortable. Many couples avoid talking about finances, intimacy, or long-term goals because they worry about conflict. However, ignoring these conversations doesn't make the issues disappear. It just pushes them under the surface where they can create bigger problems later. Addressing these subjects with honesty and respect shows your partner that you value the relationship enough to face challenges together rather than sweeping them aside. It's also worth acknowledging that mistakes happen. No one communicates perfectly all the time. Sometimes we say things we don't mean, or we fail to express ourselves clearly. The key is to recognize those moments, take responsibility, and clarify the message. Saying, "I didn't explain myself well earlier, let me try again," is an honest and humble way to repair miscommunication. This willingness to correct yourself shows your partner that your goal is not to be right, but to be understood and to understand them in return. Ultimately, communicating openly and honestly is not about grand speeches or constant conversations. It's about creating an ongoing pattern of transparency, vulnerability, and respect in daily interactions. It's the small, consistent moments of honesty, sharing your feelings, checking in about each other's needs, listening attentively, that accumulate into deep trust over time. When both partners commit to this kind of communication, the relationship becomes a safe space where both people know they can rely on each other, not just for love, but for truth and emotional security. Keeping your promises and following through is one of the most powerful ways to build and maintain trust in love and marriage. At first glance, this idea might seem simple, almost too obvious, but when you look deeper, you realize how essential it is for a relationship to thrive. Promises are not always big, dramatic declarations. They are often the small commitments we make to each other every day, showing up on time, remembering something important, or simply doing what we said we would. When you consistently follow through, your partner learns that they can rely on you, and that reliability forms the backbone of trust. One of the main reasons promises matter so much is because they represent more than just the action itself. They symbolize respect, care, and accountability. When you tell your partner that you'll do something and then you follow through, you are not just completing a task. You are showing them that their trust in you is valid. For example, if you promise to pick up groceries on your way home, it may seem like a minor responsibility. But if you forget or dismiss it repeatedly, it communicates something larger, that your partner's needs or requests are not a priority. Over time, these small broken promises accumulate, and your partner may begin to feel taken for granted or unsupported. Following through also creates a sense of stability in the relationship. Love and marriage are built on the idea of being a team, of knowing that your partner has your back no matter what. When you keep your word, you contribute to a sense of safety and security that allows both partners to relax into the relationship. This sense of security is especially important during challenging times. Life is full of stressors: work, finances, health, family obligations. And knowing that your partner is dependable makes it easier to face these difficulties together. There is also a psychological component to keeping promises. Each time you honor a commitment, you strengthen your partner's belief in your integrity. They start to see you as someone who is consistent, reliable, and worthy of their trust. On the flip side, if promises are frequently broken, even unintentionally, your partner may begin to question your honesty or dependability. Trust is fragile in this way. It takes time to build, but can be damaged quickly if commitments are not taken seriously. It's also important to recognize that promises extend beyond words. Sometimes, promises are implied through your actions or behaviors. For example, when you say, "I love you," or "I'm committed to this marriage," you are making an unspoken promise to act in ways that reflect love, loyalty, and respect. If your actions contradict those promises, By neglecting your partner's feelings, being unfaithful, or prioritizing other things over the relationship, it creates a disconnect between words and behavior. That inconsistency erodes trust far faster than most people realize. Keeping promises doesn't mean being perfect. Nobody can meet every expectation all the time, and life has a way of throwing obstacles in our path. What matters most is how you handle those moments when you can't follow through. If you promise something but circumstances change, being upfront about it is far better than simply ignoring the commitment. Acknowledging the situation, apologizing sincerely, and offering an alternative shows responsibility and respect. For example, if you promise to attend an event with your spouse but an unavoidable work emergency arises, explaining the situation and finding another way to make it up to them demonstrates that you still value your word, even if things didn't go as planned. Another key factor in keeping promises is not overcommitting in the first place. Many people make promises impulsively out of enthusiasm, guilt, or a desire to please their partner, but then struggle to fulfill them later. While the intention may be good, the result is the same: broken trust. A better approach is to be mindful of what you promise and realistic about what you can deliver. Saying, "I'll try my best," when you're unsure is more honest than making a commitment you know you can't keep. This level of honesty, even when it feels uncomfortable, prevents disappointment and reinforces your reliability. Keeping promises also ties into the emotional side of a relationship. When you follow through, you are essentially telling your partner, "You matter to me." It's not just about completing tasks, but about reinforcing the bond you share. Something as simple as remembering a special date, keeping a conversation confidential, or supporting your spouse in a moment of vulnerability can carry immense weight. These actions show that you are not only dependable in practical matters, but also trustworthy with their heart. Consistency is what transforms keeping promises from isolated gestures into a lasting foundation. Doing it once or twice is not enough. It's the repeated pattern over time that cements trust. This consistency doesn't require grand acts. Often, it's the accumulation of small, everyday follow-throughs that make the biggest difference. Making coffee because you said you would, being on time for dinner, checking in during a busy day, these small commitments add up and create a deep sense of security. At the same time, keeping promises builds mutual respect. When you take your commitments seriously, your partner is likely to mirror that behavior. This creates a cycle of reliability where both people feel supported, valued, and understood. Trust in this context becomes less about big declarations and more about a steady rhythm of showing up for each other in ways that count. Over time, this rhythm becomes second nature, and the relationship grows stronger because both partners know they can depend on each other without hesitation. Showing consistency in words and actions is one of the clearest indicators of trustworthiness in a relationship. In love and marriage, consistency means that what you say aligns with what you do, and that your behavior is steady over time rather than unpredictable or erratic. When partners see consistency in each other, it creates a sense of safety. They know what to expect. They don't have to second-guess motives, and they can relax into the relationship without fear of sudden disappointments or surprises. Trust thrives in environments where reliability is the norm, and consistency is the key ingredient in creating that reliability. One of the most important reasons consistency matters is because it removes confusion and doubt. When your words don't match your actions, it creates mixed signals. For example, if someone says, "You can always count on me," but repeatedly fails to show up when needed, the words lose their meaning. Over time, the partner receiving these mixed messages may begin to question everything that is said, even the statements that are true. This constant uncertainty erodes trust and makes the relationship feel unstable. On the other hand, when words and actions align, each statement carries weight. A simple, "I'll be there," is believed and trusted because past actions have proven it to be true. Consistency is also about emotional steadiness. In a marriage, emotions naturally fluctuate. Stress, joy, frustration, and excitement all come and go. But trust deepens when one partner knows that the other's care, love, and commitment remain steady despite these ups and downs. If affection and attention are only shown occasionally or when it's convenient, it creates doubt about how genuine the feelings really are. But when love is expressed consistently through small daily actions, kind words, thoughtful gestures, and showing up emotionally, the relationship feels secure. It tells your partner that they don't have to worry about sudden withdrawals of affection or unpredictable behavior. Another aspect of consistency is reliability in values and principles. When a partner is clear about what they stand for and consistently acts in alignment with those values, it strengthens the sense of trust. For example, if someone values honesty, they consistently tell the truth even in uncomfortable situations. If they value respect, they show it in every interaction, not just when it's convenient. This kind of integrity shows that your partner doesn't have to worry about shifting behaviors or double standards. It reassures them that the person they know and love today will be the same tomorrow, creating stability that is deeply comforting in a long-term relationship. Consistency also has a powerful role in conflict resolution. Every relationship experiences disagreements, but the way couples handle them can either strengthen or weaken trust. If one partner says during an argument, "I'll try to listen better," but never makes the effort to change their approach, the words become empty. Repeated promises without action create a cycle of disappointment. In contrast, when someone commits to change and then consistently demonstrates effort, by listening more attentively, being patient, or adjusting their behavior, the trust grows stronger. The consistency in following through shows that the commitment was real and that the relationship is a priority. It is equally important to acknowledge that consistency doesn't mean perfection. Everyone makes mistakes, and there will always be times when actions don't perfectly align with words. What matters is whether those moments are the exception or the pattern. A consistent partner may slip up occasionally, but they take responsibility, acknowledge the mistake, and return to their reliable behavior. The overall pattern remains steady, and that steadiness is what builds trust. An inconsistent partner, on the other hand, often shifts between reliability and neglect without acknowledgement, leaving their spouse uncertain and insecure. Daily routines and habits are another area where consistency shines. In marriage, it's often the small, predictable actions that build the deepest trust. Saying good morning, checking in during the day, sharing meals, or ending the night with a kind word. These may seem minor, but their regularity creates a rhythm that reassures your partner of your presence and commitment. It's not about grand gestures, but about the dependable patterns of care that make your partner feel prioritized and secure. Consistency also communicates respect. When you consistently honor your partner's feelings, respect their boundaries, and treat them with kindness, they learn that they can rely on you to value them no matter the circumstances. This kind of respect strengthens emotional intimacy because both partners feel safe being themselves without fear of judgment or rejection. Inconsistent respect, by contrast, leaves partners questioning whether they are truly valued, which can slowly erode trust and connection. Over time, consistency creates predictability, and predictability breeds security. In a world full of uncertainties and challenges, knowing that your partner will show up in a reliable and steady way becomes one of the greatest comforts in love and marriage. It tells your partner, "You don't have to wonder who I'll be today. You can count on me to be the same person you know and love." That kind of reassurance lays a foundation where trust not only grows but becomes unshakable, even in the face of life's inevitable ups and downs. Respecting boundaries and individuality is one of the most vital ways to nurture trust in love and marriage. When two people come together in a committed relationship, it is easy to think of the partnership as a single unit. While marriage is about unity, it is also about preserving the individuality of each partner. Boundaries are the invisible lines that define where one person ends and the other begins. They protect personal space, values, and emotional needs. Respecting those boundaries not only demonstrates love and consideration, but also assures your partner that their identity will not be lost within the relationship. One of the reasons boundaries are so important is because they create balance. Without boundaries, one person may begin to feel overwhelmed, smothered, or even controlled. On the other hand, when boundaries are respected, each partner feels free to be themselves while still being connected. This balance is essential for long-term trust because it reassures both people that they don't have to sacrifice their individuality to maintain closeness. A healthy marriage thrives when partners support each other's uniqueness rather than trying to mold one another into a single identity. Emotional boundaries are among the most important in a marriage. These boundaries involve respecting your partner's feelings, opinions, and emotional needs. For example, if your spouse says they need space after an argument, respecting that boundary shows maturity and trust. It signals that you are not trying to force them to react in the way you want, but instead you honor their process of managing emotions. Ignoring such boundaries, however, can lead to resentment. Pushing your partner to respond when they're not ready communicates a lack of respect for their needs and may damage trust. Boundaries also apply to privacy. Even within a close marriage, both partners are entitled to some degree of personal space. This might mean having private thoughts, alone time, or personal activities. Respecting privacy doesn't mean creating distance. Rather, it means allowing your partner to maintain a sense of autonomy. For example, trusting your spouse with their phone or social media without demanding constant access communicates respect for their individuality. Constantly crossing these lines, on the other hand, can feel invasive and controlling. Trust grows when partners know their personal boundaries will be honored without suspicion or intrusion. Another area where boundaries play a key role is time. While spending quality time together is essential, so is allowing each partner time for themselves. Everyone needs moments to recharge, pursue personal interests, or connect with friends and family outside the marriage. When one partner respects this, it reinforces the idea that individuality is valued and not seen as a threat to the relationship. For instance, encouraging your spouse to enjoy a hobby or go out with friends shows that you trust them and appreciate their independence. This freedom strengthens the bond because it is built on respect rather than control. Respecting individuality also means acknowledging and celebrating differences. No two people are exactly alike, and differences in personality, preferences, or values are natural. In marriage, it is easy to fall into the trap of expecting your partner to think, act, or feel exactly as you do. But true respect means embracing those differences without judgment. If your spouse enjoys quiet evenings while you thrive in social settings, respecting that preference instead of trying to change them fosters trust. It demonstrates that you value who they are, not who you want them to be. Boundaries also extend to communication styles. Some people process emotions quickly and want to talk right away, while others need time before they can discuss things calmly. Respecting your partner's communication style builds trust because it shows you are willing to meet them where they are instead of forcing your own way. Over time, this creates a safe space where both partners feel comfortable expressing themselves honestly without fear of being dismissed or pressured. In addition to respecting differences, supporting individuality also involves encouraging personal growth. A healthy marriage is not about holding each other back, but about inspiring each other to grow. When you support your partner's goals, dreams, and personal development, you communicate trust in their abilities and respect for their journey. For example, if your spouse wants to pursue a career change, go back to school, or learn a new skill, Showing support builds trust because it demonstrates that you value their happiness and independence as much as the relationship itself. Boundaries are also tested during conflicts. In heated moments, it is tempting to cross lines by saying hurtful things, bringing up unrelated issues, or dismissing your partner's feelings. Respecting boundaries in conflict means staying mindful of what is fair, avoiding personal attacks, and focusing on resolution rather than winning. When partners see that their emotional boundaries are honored even in arguments, it reinforces trust in the relationship. It assures them that their partner values the bond enough to resolve conflict respectfully. Ultimately, respecting boundaries and individuality is about creating an environment where both people feel safe to be themselves. Trust grows when partners know they will not be judged, controlled, or forced into roles that don't reflect their true selves. It allows love to flourish not because of control or dependency, but because of freedom and respect. A marriage where individuality is cherished and boundaries are honored is one where both partners feel secure, valued, and deeply connected. Practicing forgiveness and patience is one of the most transformative ways to build and sustain trust in love and marriage. No matter how strong or loving a relationship is, mistakes, misunderstandings, and disappointments are inevitable. Both partners are human, and with humanity comes imperfection. What determines the strength of a marriage is not the absence of conflict or mistakes, but how those moments are handled. Forgiveness and patience are the tools that allow couples to move past hurt, repair trust, and create a deeper sense of connection. Without them, even small issues can accumulate into bitterness and resentment that gradually erode the bond between two people. Forgiveness is not about pretending that something hurtful never happened or excusing bad behavior. Instead, it is about choosing to let go of the grip that past mistakes can have on the present. Holding on to anger or disappointment creates emotional distance. Over time, it can cause partners to see each other through the lens of past wrongs instead of the reality of who they are now. By practicing forgiveness, you allow space for growth, healing, and renewal. It says to your partner, "I value this relationship more than I value holding on to this hurt." That willingness to move forward builds trust because it reassures your partner that mistakes will not automatically lead to rejection or permanent damage. Forgiveness also requires vulnerability. To forgive, you must open yourself up to the possibility of being hurt again, which can feel risky. But in love and marriage, that risk is part of deep trust. When partners demonstrate the courage to forgive, they communicate faith in each other's intentions and in the strength of the relationship. This creates a powerful cycle. Trust enables forgiveness, and forgiveness reinforces trust. Patience plays a vital role alongside forgiveness. Healing and change do not happen overnight. If trust has been shaken, it takes time for wounds to mend and for both partners to feel secure again. Impatience can sabotage this process. When one partner expects immediate recovery or quick fixes, it creates pressure that makes genuine healing more difficult. Patience, on the other hand, communicates understanding. It acknowledges that rebuilding trust is a journey, not a single act. Waiting with compassion allows space for your partner to process emotions at their own pace while showing that you are committed to walking alongside them, no matter how long it takes. Patience is also essential in daily life. Marriage often involves navigating different personalities, habits, and rhythms. There will be times when your partner frustrates you, whether by being late, forgetting something important, or handling stress differently than you do. Responding with patience instead of irritation communicates love and trust. It shows your partner that they don't have to fear constant criticism or judgment for being imperfect. Over time, this creates a sense of safety, which strengthens the foundation of trust. Another important aspect of forgiveness and patience is perspective. When you step back and consider the bigger picture, it becomes easier to let go of small grievances. Not every mistake or disagreement is worth holding on to. By choosing your battles wisely and letting go of minor irritations, you prevent unnecessary strain on the relationship. This doesn't mean ignoring problems that matter, but rather recognizing that perfection is impossible and that your partner's flaws are part of their humanity. Accepting this reality fosters compassion, which naturally leads to more patience and a greater willingness to forgive. It's also worth noting that forgiveness is not a one-time decision, but often an ongoing process. Even after choosing to forgive, painful memories or emotions may resurface. In these moments, patience is required not only with your partner, but also with yourself. Trusting again after being hurt takes time, and there will be ups and downs along the way. Couples who understand this and remain committed to working through those moments together often emerge stronger, with deeper trust than before. Forgiveness and patience also go hand in hand with empathy. To forgive, you need to try to understand your partner's perspective. Why did they act the way they did? What pressures or emotions influenced their behavior? Empathy doesn't excuse mistakes, but it helps humanize them, making forgiveness more possible. Similarly, patience grows when you empathize with your partner's struggles. Instead of demanding immediate change, you recognize their efforts and support their journey. This compassionate understanding nurtures trust by showing your partner that you see them not just for their mistakes, but for their intentions and growth as well. Finally, practicing forgiveness and patience reflects the reality that love is a long-term commitment. In marriage, you are not just choosing your partner's best qualities. You are also choosing to walk through their flaws, failures, and challenges with them. Forgiveness ensures that mistakes do not define the relationship, while patience ensures that growth has the time and space to happen. Together, they create an environment where trust can flourish even in the face of setbacks. When partners consistently show that they are willing to forgive and wait with love, the message becomes clear: the relationship is stronger than any mistake, and the bond is worth protecting at all costs. Trust is the foundation on which love and marriage are built, and without it, even the strongest attraction can weaken over time. Building trust is not about one grand gesture, but about the consistent choices we make every day, communicating openly, keeping promises, aligning words with actions, respecting individuality, practicing forgiveness, and showing appreciation. Each of these acts may seem small on its own, but together they create an environment where both partners feel safe, valued, and deeply connected. Trust grows slowly, nurtured by patience and consistency, and it requires ongoing effort from both people. When partners commit to honoring trust in every aspect of their relationship, they not only strengthen their bond, but also create a love that is resilient and enduring. In the end, a marriage built on trust becomes more than a partnership. It becomes a safe haven where love can truly thrive.